And welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Knowledge. Happy New Year's to all you guys out there. Crazy. I say a lot of things on this channel. One thing I do is a lot of this, just blah 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 blah. Shut the fuck up, PKO. Okay, sorry. Um, I do a lot of that. I definitely talk a lot, but I always say this: years. Well, first I should say, days feel like years, but years feel like days. When you're living in the moment, days are just going in slow motion. You're in the grind, you're doing it, you're like, oh man, this is never going to end. But when you look back on stuff, I mean it. Years feel like days. So when I look back on 2024, it's like, wow, a lot happened in 2024. I like to do like a little reflection every year. And then the same thing with life is the same thing with Pokemon hobby is life doesn't stop. The Pokemon hobby doesn't stop. And I'm looking at some of the stuff that's going on right now, and you listen. Old Captain Hindsight, this is Captain Hindsight comes flying in. Captain Hindsight lands, and Captain Hindsight has all the answers. And there's a lot of Captain Hindsights going on right now. And I guess like the big issue is right now is we're just seeing the Pokemon hobby just absolutely explode. And Captain Hindsight could fly in and go, well, a lot of the stuff you're saying is exploding right now is a lot of Sword and Shield product. And a lot of the Sword and Shield product, well, we were all saying to buy it to begin with, but I think even what Sword and Shield is doing right now is shocking a lot of people. Like if you look at my thumbnail, Fusion Strike. Shout out to Garen M. Garen M has helped me out more time. Garen M has helped me out so much that you will think that I'm always lying when I talk about it. But my last case of Fusion Strike that was shipped to me from Pokemon Center, shout out, was thanks to Garen M. I know. He got me my Evolving Skies, my last case of Evolving Skies. He got me my last case of Fusion Strike. My last case of Fusion Strike that did come in, they did cut open the bottom, so it is just, it's the case, but, you know, they cut the stop tape, they put the packing slip inside the case. That was the first time they did that, actually. Me and Garen were talking about that, but I still have a case of Fusion Strike. I was talking to Dan earlier today, Dan Catchmall Collectibles. We were talking on the phone, and I said to him, I'm like, you know, Dan, I gotta thank you. And he's like, why is that? I was like, well, because I've been streaming now, and I just haven't had time to sell a lot of this stuff. And I said, maybe it's a good thing that I haven't been selling all this stuff, because we've only been streaming since October. I know people hate when I mention streaming, but listen, I'm just mentioning it in the sense that I've been busy, okay? So get over it. If you don't like that, just stop watching these videos. I'm just talking about timelines. But yeah, we started streaming, so I just got busy, and I haven't really got around to doing a lot of stuff since October. I think I've mentioned this before. I've only sent out one PSA submission, and my PSA submission was only for 95 cards. I've done one 95 card PSA submission in 2 months. So October, November, oh, I'm sorry, 3 months. October, November, December. I only sent out one 95 card submission. Oh, that is like me dragging my feet. I have a submission like that I need to send out. I'm really dragging my feet, but a lot of it's just like the time. And then there was a couple like 13.99 specials, and I'm like, yeah, I'll wait till next year. Let's see how the next special is. And the next special was just 13.99, and then it was like, okay, I got plenty of time. That's a magic word, right? Time. Time. One of the things I talk about a lot. Time, time, time. You always think you got enough time, but so quickly you'll go back and you look, and it's like right now. And now that's another thing. I say days feel like years, but years feel like days. Recently, though, time has just moved so fast in this hobby. Prices recently have just done stupid things. Like, stupid in a good way. This is a problem, too. I don't really read the comment section too much. That's why I don't know if you guys noticed. I stopped responding to comments a long time ago because there's just too much negativity for me, and it was just better to kind of ignore it. But I did have some comments recently, like people saying, "Why is PK so mad about the hobby?" And it's like, am I mad? I never really thought I was mad about the hobby. I think I'm just slowly going crazy. I think that's it. But Yeah, the thumbnail of this video is Fusion Strike booster boxes. This is not a lot of time. Look, I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. We went from sub $250 boxes in the end of November, so a month ago. And in a month's time, we've seen this box double. Pretty much. Yeah, maybe not quite double, but more or less has doubled in the course of a month. I told you years feel like days. This timeline snuck up on a lot of people. Like this month of Fusion Strike, it was like, when it broke here and then it went here to 300, to go from 230 to 300, that was a wow moment for a lot of people. It's like, those are huge gains. Right here, 234 to 300. That was like a wow. And I think I brought it up on a live, and now look at it. It's just like, what's going on? And I went on eBay too, and I'm like, is it anything different on eBay? Like, are these just crazy outlier sales? And they're not really. They're not. We are just living in the moment. And when I talked about Captain Hindsight, one of the things that if you were around for, and this is another thing I'm learning, a lot of people are new to this hobby, like really new. Like, we talk about 2020, 2021, like it was some magic moment in this hobby, because it truly was. But during that time, we were watching a lot of Sun and Moon booster boxes do similar things that this Fusion Strike booster box was doing. But the big difference between those boxes was the print runs between Sun and Moon and Sword and Shield. They were drastically different. And don't let anybody tell you different. Trust me. The amount of team-up boxes that were printed opposed to the amount of Fusion Strike boxes that were printed. Team-up boxes were way, way less in comparison to Fusion Strike. And Fusion Strike was available for way longer. When we think about a lot of the Sun and Moon booster boxes, especially those, well, I shouldn't say Unbroken Bonds, but like the last four, Team Up, Unbroken Bonds, Unified Minds, Cosmic Eclipse. Cosmic Eclipse never got a true booster box reprint. It did get reprinted in a couple products. We saw it in some tins. We saw it in the Arceus figure collection. We did see it get reprinted in a few products. And then Team Up, we just never really saw it get a reprint, so it never really had a huge resupply. Unbroken Bonds definitely had a pretty big restock. Unbroken Bonds was probably the last of, I would call it, the cheap team-up boxes. It took Unbroken Bonds the most time to run because there was just a lot available. Unbroken Bonds got a reprint. It was readily available. Unified Minds, not so much reprints on the booster boxes, but a lot of reprints on auxiliary products. Like there's the Unified Minds 3-pack blisters that were exclusive for Walmart. There was a bunch of products that had Unified Minds in it, but at least we could always like give a reason. It's like, all right, prices for this are going crazy, but unexpected demand entered into the hobby, right? And that unexpected demand was that 2020-21 timeline, and it ate up all these later Sun and Moon sets. And these later Sun and Moon sets, they were bangers. They had team-up cards, they had tag team cards. Awesome concepts, like a lot of fan favorite, a lot of great sets, and it worked out well. Plus, taking into account that Cosmic Eclipse booster boxes never got reprints. Team-up boxes never got reprints. So we could justify that stuff. As I stand here, and as God is my witness, this got reprinted. This Fusion Strike booster box got one of the biggest reprints we've seen. I talk about it on this channel all the time, and there's a lot of people, their ears are going to start to bleed, so plug your ears and hum for a second. As I walk through the valley of the $79.95 booster box, I fear no evil. One of the booster boxes that was $79.95 at the same time is right there on that screen. That Fusion Strike box was one that dropped below $80, and it was super, super illiquid for a relatively long time. Now, the word relative in this hobby, really take that word relative with a grain of salt. Everything that we think is relative maybe isn't really relative. But it was a cheap box. And now I look at this and it's like, how do you justify this? Remember Fusion Strike was the set that a lot of stuff happened with it too? I don't even think people realize that. Like, Fusion Strike's got its own myth and its own lore behind it. So Fusion Strike got released, expensive, reprinted again, crushed, decimated the hobby. People said the hobby was over as I walked through the valley of the $79, $95 booster box. I didn't believe the hobby was over. This was the time I was making positions. Once again, now I could add to how my Chillin' Rain buy was a dumb buy. Thank the Lord Arceus. Chillin' Rain was a dumb buy. Let's look at my Chillin' Rain booster boxes. This was my bad buy. Let's share this screen. Right there. That is my bad buy. This here, this is being punished in the Pokemon hobby. Chillin' Rain, $79, $95, a booster box. Current market price on TCG Player, $299.99, so $300. This is my punishment. This is my purgatory, this box. So, could have bought Fusion Strike. Fusion Strike's now at, $479. Could have bought Evolving Skies at $95. Evolving Skies is now at $1,000. I picked Chillin' Rain because problem was I liked Chillin' Rain. That was my mistake. I liked all the alt-arts in Chillin' Rain. I had opened up Chillin' Rain, and Chillin' Rain was super, super hard to pull chases. You got that gold Galarian V card, the Snorlax gold card, the Blaziken obviously is in here. If you look at Chillin' Rain, and what I made the mistake of was I looked at the value of cards, and one of the metrics that I like to use is cards in a set that are valued at over $20. That is a nice baseline metric I like to use. And at the time, talking about Chillin' Rain, I said there are so many chases in Chillin' Rain that are valued over $20. That was my metric. And then Chillin' Rain at the time had the most singles valued at like over $20 for total number. Evolving Skies still had more expensive singles, but when it came to like the most amount of hits you can get for greater than 20, Chillin' Rain was a booster box. I'm like, with this many good hits, with this sort of return on a box, I thought that this one was the most undervalued in Chillin' Rain. And how the hobby will continue to prove me wrong. But again, that is being punished. $300 a booster box, that is me being punished. Going from 80 to 300. Welcome to this hobby. But, yeah, that's why I titled this video. Watch as PK slowly descends into madness, talking about Pokemon investing. The more, I don't know, it's just, I've talked about, see, this is the thing too, is I've talked about on all these topics on so many different lives, but we are so rewarded that it's becoming almost unfair. Your worst plays are $80 boxes that go to 300. Ones that you will talk about once a week for years. I talked about that play for years. There's so many people that are absolutely tired of me mentioning the line as I walk through the $79, $95 booster box. I fear no evil. There are people that literally hate it when I say that because I've said it so many times. And the play that I'll talk about the most, which will end up being one of my worst plays because my box had only went up to 300. First world problems right there. Poor PK. That's the thing about this hobby. It's like your bad plays will be rewarded. Your good plays, super rewarded. The moderner, the better. Right now, looking at this hobby, Prismatic Evolutions, we're running into Hidden Fates territory. Hidden Fates, after release, we saw Hidden Fates run up to $300. Can we see $300 Prismatic Evolutions ETBs? We're already starting to see them close on Pokemon Center ones at pre-release. So let's see. Prismatic. Oh. So let's see. Oh my goodness. So, I might as well just keep the share screen up. These are the not this is the non Pokemon Center one. So that this is the non Pokemon Center one is already pre-ordering. Here's the Pokemon Center one. Holy cow. $394.98. These Prismatic Evolutions Pokemon Center ETBs. That's what these things are pre-ordering for. I'm so happy that I got as many of these things as I possibly could. Used my home address, my PTO mailbox. Had called my wife up while I was at work. Had my wife use her credit card. Had my wife. I'm so happy I did this. Oh man, what do we do? Like, how do you preach caution to people when people are entering the hobby and this is their first release? And they were in the Rattle Discord, so they got the notifications when the Prismatic Evolutions ETBs went up for sale. And we're not talking about this was a thing that people couldn't get. Like, you could have got this. This was up for like a half a day. Well, couple hours. Couple hours in modern Pokemon might as well be this thing was up for millennias. When you have a product up for hours in today's market, it might as well be a millennium, 1,000 years. That's what it felt like when this thing was up. It was only a half a day. Like, I'm sure there was a bunch of people out there who were busy maybe that day, but a lot of people got this. A lot, a lot. Like, as in everyone that I know got this. At least if you were in Discord, okay? I'm sorry. If you live under a rock and you have all your notifications and you have a flip phone still, you don't have an iPhone, you're strictly not on social media. I don't even know how you found this YouTube channel. Maybe you weren't able to pick up Pokemon Center ETBs, but everyone that bought this, you are up a preposterous amount of money. And the only reason you could even possibly be up this much money is you have to have a crazy secondary market. And the only way you could have this thing be at the price it is, you have to have people FOMOing into this. And I'm sure there are people that have never purchased this. This is the thing, too. This Prismatic Evolutions Pokemon Center ETB, this will be released on the day of release. I believe it's is it January 16th, January 17th? Whatever day Prismatic drops. Let me see, what day is it? I think it would be it would be the Friday. Is it? Whatever. The 16th or the 17th of this month. Whatever the release day is. This thing will drop on PokemonCenter.com. Like, it has dropped 100% of the time. How many will there be? Definitely not a lot. Will this thing be botted into all oblivion? Yes, all the bots. Like, you're asking me, it's like, how many bots? All the bots. You name all the bots. They're all going to be going after this. This thing is going to be just a bloodbath. It's going to be crazy how many people are going to try to get this. But yes, this thing will be available at Pokemon Center on the day of release. And you better bet your ass you better have your notifications on. And there's some people will still not have their notifications on. But like, that's it, man. How do you preach caution, patience? Like, look at all these products. Even the surprise box. Look at single pack prices right now. Booster bundles, look at what they're selling. This is single pack prices. $14 a pack. For the, I mean, I know, it's moderner the better. This is the moderner, and this is the better. $14. There's not enough of this stuff to go around at release. So much of this stuff is going to be consumed by breakers right now. I know, I'm living it. I know, people don't want to hear it. I'm living it. I'm seeing it. I'm opening the packs. I'm going to open up, I don't even know, tens upon tens upon tens upon tens of thousands of different packs. Just in Surgeon Sparks, I've opened like Dan put out the numbers, but I don't know if he was, I can't even remember like what numbers Dan is transparent with, but like it was close to 6,000 packs of just Surge and Sparks between me and Pongo we ripped. And I opened the majority of those packs just because I stream a couple more nights than he does. So out of the 6,000 packs, I'm probably close to 4 to 5,000 of those babies I ripped myself. So I'm close to 5,000 packs on Surge and Sparks. I've single-handedly, as one human being, I've opened that many. Prismatic Evolutions, how many packs of Prismatic Evolutions am I going to open? Well, is this a problem now? I got to open them at $14 a pack. I feel it's just, there's a level of like healthiness to this hobby, and there's a level of unhealthiness, and they're like, this is crazy. This is crazy. I'm sorry. Do you not see this? Like, does the hobby as a whole not see how crazy this is? And this is the thing where when I read the comments and people are like, PK is just mad all the time. He just hates this hobby. It's like, I don't hate this hobby. I'm just seeing how insane this hobby we're living in. It's a blind, the blinds lead in the blind too a lot of times. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. The blinds lead in the blind because while people were talking about Fusion Strike being a good buy, did you see any videos in November saying by January 1st, this box will double? Because if those videos exist, good for them. But I didn't see a lot of this booster box Fusion Strike will double in the next 30 days. I didn't see a lot of those. All these great oracles of Pokemon, the Delphis of Pokemon. Every one of these Pokemon investors, they're sacrificing a virgin. People are going, they're bringing gold, and they're bringing myrrh, and they're bringing incense, and they're just praying to the altar of all these Pokemon investing gods. And they're like, please, please, lead me to the light. I don't remember any of them talking about Fusion Strike, saying in the next 30 days this thing will double. I'm sorry, because they're blind. They're the blind oracle of Delphi. That's who they are. Here we go. I told you guys, I made a video. I told you, this is ground control, the major PK. I went on my rocket ship, and I blasted away. And I didn't ever, even though this rocket ship that I'm on, I know I got great signal from my rocket ship to Earth. Thanks a lot to old Mr. Elon Musk and Starlink. Great technology. Really been able to live stream this perfectly to you. That's why you'll see once in a while, like, it's a little rocky. But we're going. I went past the moon, went past Mars. This solar system can't hold me anymore. This galaxy can't hold me anymore. I think we're just out there. We're out there. We're lost, floating in our tin cans. This hobby, I mean, what do you do, right? It's like, what can you buy that is poor? What was a buy in Pokemon you did that shit the bed on you? That was a poor performer. It's like nothing. Your worst performers, what'd you do? You picked up like some Scarlet and Violet booster box instead of going after Sword and Shield. You know, like, listen to some people told you to go after Scarlet and Violet. So you went after Scarlet and Violet. What are you up, like 20%? Oh, poor you. Somebody get you a tissue. Here. I don't have a tissue. Here, use this empty pack wrapper. Wipe your tears with this empty pack wrapper. Everybody's been right. It's hard to be wrong. That's a problem. It's like you can't be wrong right now. Eventually, you will be wrong. Like, the sustainability, the repeatability of Fusion Strike booster boxes, they can't double again next month. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to make a hard... Fusion Strike booster boxes will not double from January to February 1st, 30 days. I will write that in the ground. And then there's a lot of people out there are going to be like, oh, look at PK. He's a genius. He's saying, Fusion Strike booster boxes will not double from what are we, January 2nd till February 2nd. Shout out to Groundhog's Day, because sometimes that's what we're living in. We're living in Groundhog's Day. That's fantastic that it's February 2nd. So as we live through our lives of Groundhog's Day, and we're watching all sun and moon just repeat itself in Groundhog's Day, and you're watching the same PK video and the same PK rant now for the 16,000th time on this channel, speaking into the void of nothingness as you watch. It's like, this is a PK. I've already watched this PK video, right? I must have watched this PK video. Does PK just record one video, keep the same stupid hat on, change his shirt, and just... Did PK just make one video one time and he just cycles it on repeat because this is fucking Groundhog's Day? Yes. But now that's the thing. People are going to be like, well, that's an easy thing for you to say, PK, that you think Fusion Strike booster boxes aren't going to double. Well, I might have said that on December 1st. That by December 1st and to February 1st, I want to see Fusion Strike booster boxes double. So, like, that is actually the hot take, to say shit won't double in a month. Everybody likes to quote Rudy from Alpha Investments. Rudy says every single Sword and Shield booster box is undervalued under $500. You can go back. Go type into my channel. You don't think this is real? Let me go do this. Let's see the title of my video. And people are going to be like, value. Let's see. Here we go. Look at this video. I'll share my screen. Look at that title. Look at this. Look, just changed my shirt. Different hat. Look at that handsome devil right there. See, that was a younger PK. What a young, naive, handsome devil. But look at that. All modern booster boxes under $200 are undervalued. I made this a year ago. You know what the difference is? A year ago, nobody cared. These videos existed. Everybody likes to quote Rudy. I saw it before they were even $200. It's like, all this shit is undervalued. Maybe you should buy in. Buy. Maybe now's the time. Handsome devil. Oh boy. Oh, I made videos talking under $200. You would have did great. Want to know what booster box was under $200 at the time? Fusion Strike, Brilliant Stars, Lost Origin, Chillin' Rain. We can't be wrong. This hobby is gonna eventually break me. As I don't know what to talk about anymore. I'm just slowly diving into madness. You guys. You're the good ones. That's the problem, too. It's like a lot of these new channels, too. Like, they're all right. Can't be wrong. They don't know anything about the hobby. They don't know anything about the history of the hobby. They don't know anything about reprints. They don't know anything about, like, how things have been released. But it doesn't matter. They're all just hopping in right now. They're hopping in on that rocket ship. And they've been right. Are they actually doing what they're saying they're doing? I don't know if they're actually doing what they said they're doing. Anyways, on a personal note, I'm every day I wake up. Every day I think about quitting my job. Every day I think about going Pokemon full time. And that it might be a top signal. Every day. I'm not joking. Real conversations with my wife, with people that would affect that every day. I think about quitting my job. I have a very good job. I have a job that I went to college for, got a degree, moved across country, became a petroleum engineer, bust my ass, worked many, many 100-hour work weeks, many. Worked very, very hard, very, very hard to get to where I am. I am very well compensated for what I do. I have a very good life. I do not hate my job whatsoever. I have great benefits. I have great health insurance. I'm living the dream for what a person in a professional career. I'm a professional. I have a nice title. I'm well respected. My peers respect me. My management is good to me. My company is good to me. I get good raises. I'm not complaining at all. And every day I wake up and I think, does it make sense to go full-time Pokemon after everything I just said to you? Take it for what it is. Like, that's just the truth. Is that a top signal? Is it? Like, what is not? Like, and I've had to now share with some people like that this is a potential, and I've mentioned it now to my parents, which I feel like the parents are the everybody. We always have that one confidant that like like the last person you run stuff by before you go and you do something stupid, and you just like let me gauge my mom, let me gauge my dad, let's see what their opinion is, which I'm a grown ass adult with two kids, a wife, and you're very last. Like, let me just give old mommy a call. Let's see what mommy has to say about it. And it's the phone call goes exactly the way you think it is. Uh, do you think Pokemon? What happens like if the market doesn't stay the way it is? And it's like, you know what? You're right, mom. That's a good question. What if the market doesn't do what it's doing? Would have had that conversation if I called her last year. Would have had that same conversation if I called her in 2022. 2021, definitely would have had that conversation in 2020. And my answer every single time was, I don't know. If I was talking to, like, just put yourself in a time machine, have that same call in 2020 instead of today. We're in 2025 technically now. 4 or 5 years ago, depending on how you look at it. Have the conversation. Crazy. Like, what are you going to leave everything for what? Take a big risk. Think about it every day. I think about it more every day. Thinking about like hybrid schedules. I'm thinking about like, do I want to keep doing this? Like every day I go to work. You know, it costs me money. That's some real talk right there. Think about that. Just told you how hard I worked at a job. Every day that I go to work, it actually costs me money. I'm losing money every single day that I go to work. Now, I am double dipping, like work and full. I'm not double dipping at my job, but like double dipping in the sense that I'm working my job during the day and then still doing all my Pokemon stuff at night. So I'm double dipping in that sense that I got two full-time jobs in a sense. Working, I don't even know, 70, 80 hours a week right now. And it's freaking crazy. Like life changing. That's a good way to put it. Life changing. My life in the last couple months have really just changed. Working a lot though. Streaming 5 nights a week, just doing it's Pokemon. There's always a point where Pokemon was like very, very consuming. Now it's just like all encompassing, all consuming, because I'm also working a full time job, and yeah, I'm probably gonna take on more responsibilities at my regular job pretty soon. Like part of just normal career progression, and it's like, oh boy, I got to take on more responsibilities, which I'm not one to, I'm never, and I'm still not one. I'm not one to shy away from that kind of stuff, but I'm just like thinking about it. I'm just like, and you know who called it first? You know who the first person to ever call it was? And I didn't think much of it at the time, but Rusty TCA Gaming. You know, Rusty was the first person to call it. I don't remember. Let me see if it was. I think Rusty texted to me. And sometimes there's just some people out there that are so much smarter than everyone else. I don't know if I think maybe it was in a comment or. All right, this is on. I don't know what I don't want to read the whole. It's not really bad. Uh, so Rusty wrote something to me. This is on October 13th. He said, Paldea Evolve still trucking along. Congrats on the live. It really sounds like you have a good thing going. It would not surprise me if you are eventually going at this full time with the successful potential you have. And then just a bunch of very nice words after that. But Rusty was the very first person. Rusty was one of the first people to reach out to me and say, like, I would be surprised if you're not going full time pretty soon. And man, it's some people, they know it. You could see it. Some people could see the writing on the wall, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I have to temper stuff, temper expectations, temper what I'm thinking. I just talk into the ether, talk into the nothingness, talk into the void. Wait, as you get older, you start to. I'm looking at like what would be my worst case scenario. Really, my worst case scenario is I try something. It's great. I continue to do it because like what is so I guess the question would be, well, what does full-time Pokemon for me look like, right? I guess that's the question. It's what I'm doing, but I now have 50 extra hours a week to put towards it because right now my job on very 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 rare occasions do I ever have the luxury of 40-hour work weeks. Very very rarely. My normal work week is 45 to 50. That is my normal. And my extreme work weeks are like 70 hours. I do a lot of traveling for my job. Got a lot of clients throughout different states. I could be in the car sometimes. One of my guys just today, I sent him on a project that I could have went on if I want to, but I sent the other guy. This is not cap. I am not making this up for anybody. It was a 2.5 hour drive there, 2.5 hour drive back. He had a drive time of 5 hours today. And he's expected to be on site as long as it takes to get a certain project done. And, you know, we plan for 8 hour day. So that's an 8 hour day on site plus 5 hours worth of drive time. That is a 13-hour day one of my employees potentially could have done. Now, he was able to get that project done in less than 8 hours. And because he got it done in less than 8 hours, he was able to come home, and it ended up only being like an 11-hour day for him opposed to a 13. But like that is a possibility. That is a very very rare very very real possibility for my job. So I will now gain 50 hours a week that I was working, that I will now have free to put to Pokemon. So whether that's sourcing, whether that's getting, graded card submissions ready, whether it's making content for my YouTube channel, which I just don't have the time right now. One of the things I would love to do is do the pre-edited videos. I know I don't listen, I am the very antiviral channel. I've been making a lot of content for a long time. I'm very antiviral in that sense. My videos don't go crazy, even though I think my videos are good, but then I this is a problem. I make the type of videos that I want to watch. So I make the type of videos that I want to watch. So maybe not a lot of people want to watch those videos. I think the people that do enjoy them really enjoy them. But my content doesn't get pushed out because it doesn't usually come up on most people's like home page feeds and stuff because it's all lives. And really the stuff that gets pushed out the best and the stuff that works the best for the YouTube algorithm, and this is not a secret, you could ask a lot of people this, is that call it 10 to 15 minute sweet spot. It's going to take me 10 to 15 minutes to explain what the 10 to 15 minute sweet spot is. Like, I am not, I am a very long-winded person. Everything I do, it's part of just me, my personality, my life. It's everything is very nuanced. So I like those videos will exist. I'll push out that content. So like, and then just start utilizing things that I don't utilize enough because it's just a time thing. So the question is like, well, what can I do? And the answer for me is like so much. To free up 50 hours a week. And then the question, but now this is the question. It's like, if you, in that 50 hours, do you feel you could replace your salary? See, and that's the thing. I am not undercompensated. So it is really, really, really hard for me to make up my salary. Really, really hard, actually. Like, it's, the numbers are crazy to try to get there. And then I may never be able to repeat it. But I think the difference is I will be home, you know? I'll just be like one flight of stairs away from my wife at all times. I'll be one flight of stairs away from my kids at all time. I will be my own boss, so like if I got to do family stuff that day, it's just like I just won't make content that day. I won't do, you know, it changes. It's just like a lot of it is just, what value can you put to just the ability to be free, the ability to be your own boss, like the ability to not have to work, you know, I gotta be there at 7, gotta be, you know, I'm leaving site at 5 sometimes, you know, it's like, that's the 10-hour day, 10-hour days come at you, they come real quick too, you know, and then that's 10 hours at work. That's not the drive to work. That's not the drive home from work. So, okay, you got a 30-minute drive to work. You got a 30-minute drive home. So, yeah, you just worked a 10-hour day, but what about that hour? Well, that's 1 hour. Well, you drove to and from work 5 times. 5 times to work, 5 times home from work. There's 5 days in a week. So that's 10 hours of my week was just spent in my car. And it's like, I mean, those are great because I'm listening to YouTube videos and I'm just cruising, and you know, like you're trying to decompress on your way to work, and then as you're driving home, you know, home's gonna be hectic. You got the, as soon as I walk through that door, man, it's like that calm before the storm. I pull my car into the garage, I close the garage door behind me, and you just like take that deep breath, and as soon as that door opens, the dog starts barking. Both kids, they come running up and they want to give you a hug, and like that's what you do it for. That's that work. And you know, you just starting to think about all this stuff. It's like, so maybe I'll make less money, but man, I got a 1-year old and a 3-year old at home. Like, to be able to be here with them all the time. Like, yeah, sure, I'll still be working and stuff, but like, I'll just always be a flight of stairs away. That could be, how do you put a value to that? And what if this hobby doesn't, because right now, this hobby could half 50%, everything could go down and it's still worth it too. Like, it's like what I could do versus what the worst case scenario, but like that's it. The worst case scenario could be the hobby could drop 90%. And then I'll look back and then it'll be like, oh no, what have I done? But it's, then I start to look at it, you start to break down numbers of certain stuff, and it's like, well, what if the hobby stays like this? So earlier tonight when I said, you know, I called it the mom test. You call your mom up and you run something past your mom. She is going to be the last person, because remember, not a lot of people that are ever going to be on your side. And always, you're going to always like, you're not going to have a lot of cheerleaders in your life. That one cheerleader will be your mom. And your mom will always look out for you. And no matter when the shit hits the fan, trust me, she'll still be there. Like, there's a reason why. No matter how old you get, you still got a mom. And, you know, when I said if I had that conversation with her in 2020, it's like, well, what if 5 years mean? Well, 5 years brings us today, and we are booming. We are rocket ship emoji and booming, booming. There's 136 people in this watching somebody talk about nothing. Hello. But yeah, think about it. And then I ask my question, it's like, well, can I get 5 years? 5 years out of this hobby. And 5 years, that could be worth it. And then worst case scenario, I just start back at scratch. I mean, I never start at scratch. I get to start at, like, with my experience. I'll have like a little off time, but I'll still be able to like go into a really nice title with my experience, you know. So yeah, I mean, I've worked full-time big boy jobs since I was 18 years old. 20 years of my life now, almost. 20 years of my life I've been working like a freaking maniac. Started out in high school. Uh, High school as an 18-year-old. Shout out to Tap gifting the 10 PK memberships. Tap, I appreciate with the membership. But yeah, started out when I was 18 years old. Got a 40-hour Haswapper. That was the youngest you can get, 40-hour Haswappers, and just cleaning up like an oil spills, oil spill response. That's what I was doing when I was 18, all throughout college. And it was marine oil spill response, and did that. And then until eventually 2010, I had a ton of experience, and then that was when the BP oil spill happened. Then the BP oil spill happened, and then I went down to the Gulf of Mexico, and I was the captain of an oil spill response vessel, like a young 20-year-old college kid, because at that point, I had 4 years of oil spill response experience, and not just 4 years of oil spill response experience. I had 4 years of marine oil fills, or of oil response, like, so to have 4 years of marine oil spill response training, 4 years in 2010, and the BP oil spill, you had 4 years more than everyone else. No one else had that type of training. Some people had spill response training. Nobody had oil spill response. And then all that time going through college, getting a degree in geoscience, graduating college, knew I wanted to work in the oil field. I didn't know what the oil field really was. Like, the reason why I got my degree in the major I did, because my first ever oil spill response was at in Boston, Massachusetts, at the mobile terminal, like mobile gas station. And there was an oil spill that happened, and we went and we cleaned it up. And I was so young, it was 2006 at the time. And I looked around and I said, there's so much money in, what is this? Is like oil? Or like, well, there's just so much money. People were getting hotel rooms, emergency response cost a fortune. I'm just like, I don't know what this is. This is 2006. And I'm like, I just know I need to work in the oil field. So I went home, and I don't know if Google was even really a thing back then. I might have freaking asked Jeeves it. And I just went home and I typed in, because I didn't have a smartphone at the time. I had a flip phone, probably typed into a computer. And I said, how do I work in the oil field? And then it came up petroleum engineering. And then I'm pretty sure my next search was, what is petroleum engineering? And like, that's why I went to school for what I went to school for. And then petroleum engineering, and then it said geology. And I'm like, geology? I kind of like rocks. Like, maybe that will be fun. And then I went to an environmental science school because I'm from the East Coast, and like your Texas A&Ms and your all those big agriculture and mining schools, your Oklahoma, they have good petroleum engineering programs. I went to a college that didn't have a petroleum engineering program, so I went for geoscience and tried to like do a expertise in petroleum, but we don't even have petroleum classes. And then I applied right out of college to every single oil field job I can find. And I ended up getting a really, really good job as an engineer. And when I worked with people that had masters and doctorates in, like geophysics, petroleum engineering, all these guys had like crazy, crazy backgrounds. And the one question that people would always ask would, you would work with people enough, and you would always say, who did you know to get this job? and everyone knew somebody. Like, they were like, oh, my professor, or, I did an intern for this, I did this, I did this. Everybody like had these crazy stories. And I got the chance to ask the recruiter why they called me. And when they called me for my first interview, and then obviously you get that first phone call for that interview, you still have to get the job. You still have to interview for it. You still have to be the right candidate. You still have to have a certain mindset, certain education level. You can't just get a job. But I asked that recruiter, I said, why did you call me? And the lady on the phone said, it was simple. You applied from a college that everyone had already heard of. So it was like a well-known college. And she said, and you just had an area code on your phone number that no one had ever seen before. And that was it. That was all it took for me to get my foot in the door, because when you get older, and like now I'll start to see people's resumes come in, and it makes more sense as I've gotten older that you see the same resume come through the door. For you put up a job posting, you might have 50, 100 applicants, and out of those 50 to 100 applicants, you get 50 to 100 of the exact same resume, especially for entry-level jobs. They're all more or less identical. And it's just, I understand it now looking at resumes. It's like you need just something to catch your eye on a resume. You just want something that is different. And for me, my story is well, and I had great experience. Like I told you, I was captain of oil spill response vessel during the B2 oil spill. I was working oil spill response. Like I had a good job during college, like I used to work Thanksgiving and stuff, because those were the days all the other guys didn't want to work, but I was home for vacation from college, so I would work Thanksgiving because those were the days people wouldn't want to work. And I would I get time and a half. I think time and a half for me was like $18 an hour or something, and I was just giddy as a schoolgirl to work time and a half on Thanksgiving, making $18 an hour instead of like whatever 12 or $13 I was making at the time. I thought I was freaking rich, and I'm a college kid at the time too, so I had all this experience, but it still was just the X factor to get that very first phone call was just I went to a college they had heard of, and I had an area code that they had never seen before. That was it. That was the only difference. And then eventually I worked my way. I had to move to North Dakota. Left everything. Left my whole family. Left every single friend. I still have the vehicle. Got a 4-wheel drive vehicle to do it. Still have that vehicle. I've owned 3 vehicles in my entire life. I still own 2 of the 3 of them. So I'm not one for like change really in that sense. But I got in my vehicle and I drove 54 hours. That was the drive. And I got to the yard on the first day, to the shop, and one of the other engineers was finishing up a project, and it always stuck with me. He said to me, he goes, do you know what they call people out of college that make as much money as you? And I said, no. And he said, doctor. And I went, well, okay. Well, first of all, the guy was kind of a dick. I never liked him, but it was always a weird thing to say. That was the first thing he ever said to me. You know what they call people that make as much as you do out of college? He said, doctor. Had a really good job. I was a petroleum engineer. I just told you I was working Thanksgiving, making double or time and a half, making $18 an hour, and I thought I was rich. And I got out of college, and like my friends were, getting jobs right out 50, 60 grand, like on the high end. And like here I was. And I went balls deep. All encompassing, all consuming. It's all I wanted to do. I was a young, single guy. No expenses, no nothing. And then my wife, she ended up moving out there with me 2 years after. She was my girlfriend at the time. She quit her job, worked for the state of New York. She had a good job. Went out there. The first week she got there. So I had a couple days off, and then my first full week that she was back, I worked 134 hours. That number sounds made up, doesn't it? It sounds like a fake number. 134 hours I worked that week. There's only 168 billable hours in a week. Now, a lot of that time is not just being awake, it's sleeping and stuff, because I was sleeping on the well pads. Like, because what we were doing, like, we had to always kind of be on site. So we were on site, and I would be on site for greater than 12 hours sometimes. I one time got called in on my day off to do an 8-hour job. I didn't come home until 56 hours later. I ended up being on site. No one will ever know what that's like, to like be on site, sleeping in your coveralls with your boots on in a pickup truck. I know this shit sounds made up. It's not made up. Like, nothing I will ever tell you is made up. This is all true. Worked my fucking ass off my whole life. And then price of oil dropped, and it just wasn't worth it to be in there anymore. The shop that I worked at had 40 people when I started, and it was crazy. Everything was booming. It was the boom, just like Pokemon. Everything was booming. And when I left, I watched 32 people get escorted out that front door. I started with 40 people. When I left, we were down to 8. Watched 32 people get laid off. And I never got fired, never got laid off. I saw the writing on the wall, though. Because, but the thing was when everyone got laid off, even though the work was slowing up, we were still staying super busy because we were covering for all the people that got laid off. So our hours were actually even more, even though everything was going, like, everything, the workload was a way less, but the crew sizes had dropped by like 4 or 5 crews we lost. So we would have to make up for those 4 or 5 crews worth of work. Well, it wasn't enough work to keep those 5 crews busy. It was way too much work for the 3 crews we ended up running at the end. We had 3 2-man crews, 1 district manager, and 1 like assistant manager. And it wasn't worth it for me to be there anymore. And I always, when you're working a job, you always think it's going to be like, oh, I'm going to have my fucking suite. I'm going to walk out that front door and I'm going to do one of the PKs. Pew, 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 pew. And you're going to walk out and you're going to be like, this is the best day of my life. When I quit my job in the oil field, I got mad. So what happened was I got mad at my job on a Friday. And I went home and I sent out resumes for the job I have right now. I went home, I was like pissed off on a Friday, and I made a resume on Indeed. And Indeed had this ability where you could it was like a one click submit application. And I just went and I typed in like geology jobs from my state. And I just like the Indeed, the one click. I just went down the row and I just like, it was like instant one click your resume to all these different people. Monday morning, I get a phone call. I kind of even like, like you're not mad at work anymore. Like a couple days go by, you blow off some steam, and I get a phone call from the recruiting manager that doesn't even work at the job I work now. I've been there now 8 years. It doesn't even work there anymore. The recruiting manager that called me, and he called me up and he said the name of the company I work for, and he's like, calling from blah blah blah, and I'm like, oh yeah, zero clue like what the name of the company was. Like, no clue, never heard of it before. I was like, oh yeah, I was like, like on the phone, oh yeah. And then he's like, we'd like to bring you in for an interview. And I said, yeah, I'll come in for an interview. And I was like, just so you know, if I come in for an interview, I would like to just know I'm at the next step. And he's like, well, what do you mean at the next step? He just kind of took him off guard. I was like, listen, I'm in North Dakota right now. I got to fly there. It's going to cost me a lot of money for a flight. I need to know you guys are just whatever the next step is. Like, I need to know I'm there. And he's like, all right, well, we could discuss salary. It's something we never really do at the beginning, but if the job's not worth it for you. And I told him a salary range I had in mind, which was super less than I was making at the time, but I just wanted out. I wanted to go back home. I was done with the oil field. Wasn't worth it anymore. And he goes, yep, that's a number we can do. And I went in, I flew out, I did my interview. It was a 3-hour interview with 3 people, like my manager now, the vice president of the company, and the recruiting manager. All the recruiter did was like went over the benefit package and stuff. No really like interview questions, but it was a 3-hour interview. And I got in my car and I drove home. I didn't hear anything back. Flew back home, or North Dakota at the time. Never didn't hear anything for 5 days. I was like, oh, that was a big waste of my time. And then I got the offer letter in the mail, and they offered me more money than I asked for. They offered me a higher title than I asked for. Brought me in at like a higher senior level, because at the time I was so blinded still that I thought that because I was going into consulting opposed to petroleum engineering, I was like, I don't have any qualifications. So I like apply. this is so dumb saying it out loud back, but I applied for like the lowest level position they had, like the entry level one position, like the, you know, college kid. They used to work at a bike shop. They graduated college now. So like that was a project or the job I applied for, and they like I was like all these steps higher that they hired me on at. I was like jumped a ton of steps. They offered me all this more money, and I didn't know. It was dumb. I just wanted out. So when I finally got to tell my manager at the time, remember I was telling you the beep 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 beep. Every morning we used to do a safety meeting. With little parentheses. All the safety meeting was we just talk about what everybody was going to do for the day, all the projects and whatever. And I sat there, and you know they gave me my projects for the day, and I was like, the manager and the district manager were there's big like conference room table which used to sit like 40 guys. Like the table didn't sit 40, but like the table would sit a bunch, and then there was chairs around like the edge of the room everybody would sit. But the room would sit like 40 people when we were at our boom. We were down to 8. So we would all sit at the table. And I said, I'm not going to say their names, but I said like they're both their first names. Like, do you guys mind staying here like after the meeting just so I could talk to you? And they're like, yeah. And so like the other guys got up and they walked out and started doing their stuff. And I said to him, I was like, you know, it's just not worth it for me to be here anymore, and I'll put my 2 weeks in. They're like, okay. And they're like, do me a favor, go write a resignation letter. So I went into, we called it like our dispatch room. And I went in with a pen and paper, and I wrote a letter. And I dealt with radioactive sources. I dealt with explosives. So like I had access to stuff that I could do like a lot of damage to. Radioactive sources for login sources, for like open hole login. Like cesium 137, americium, beryllium 241. Those are like our login things we use like for open hole login. And then explosives, because we did all the fracking. So like fracking for like perf guns, we could load explosives into guns, send them down hole, we would perforate the holes. I had access to all this stuff, explosives, radioactive sources. So I knew that there was a chance that they would let me go right on the spot. So I came back in, my handwritten resignation letter. Oh my God. And I gave it to my boss, and he goes, we're going to let you go, but we're going to pay you out for your 2 weeks. So I got paid for my 2 weeks, which was nice. But walked me out. I had already, so before I went into the break, or into the room that morning before the safety meeting, I'd already cleaned out my locker, took out everything, you know, saved some stuff, and had everything already in my car because I knew it was a possibility. So we drove out, and the policy was you weren't allowed to take photos because it was company policy, like no photos allowed on company property. And I drove out, and we're driving out the yard. It's like a big yard. And the assistant manager had to actually follow me out in his company vehicle. I had to give up like my company keys and all kinds of shit, you know, give up all your stuff. And the assistant manager was following me out, and I'm driving out, and I thought to myself, I said, I've been here for 4 years now. This is 4 years of my life. This is such a huge chapter of my life. I don't have a photo. I don't have any photos. I don't have any photos of like my time here. I said, like, I don't think this was a waste of like 4 years. But yeah, and then like that put the end to that chapter of my life. Just like that. 4 years. Till eventually you just, one day you're in a safety meeting, 20 minutes later you write a resignation letter, 10 minutes after that you're walking out the front door. And I remember I didn't cry, I didn't tear up, anything like that, but like it was like a very heavy emotion went through me. And I just remember driving home and being very, very like self-aware, self-conscious. I'm like, just this chapter of my life is over. It was over. That chapter of my life was over. And then I went and I did my job, and I came from, remember when I got hired on, they were like, yeah, we work like 45 to 50 hours a week. Are you okay with that? And my answer to them was, I could do 50 hours standing on my head. And no one believed me. But I literally just came from a job where, my old job, we used to say if we didn't work 70 hours, it wasn't worth it to be there. That was our motto. Like me and the guys I worked with. If we worked less than 70 hours, it wasn't worth it. Like when you factor in overtime and everything. And yeah, I've been at my job for 8 years now, and now with Pokemon, my whole life, close to 20 years. Started in 2006 was when I got that first 40-hour Haswabber, going all the way back to the beginning of the story. 2006. Here we are, 2025, almost 20, so 19 years of my adult life. I've been working. And if you told me in 2006 I'd work for the next close to 19 years of my life to build myself, work up a corporate ladder, and I would be sitting in my chair in my basement, in the grandma's basement, talking to my wall, thinking about quitting my job to do Pokemon full time, I would think you were smoking the biggest crack rock that has ever existed in the history of crack rocks. You must have been smoking that. But like, here we are. Life is funny. That is real deep personal stuff, but hey, maybe some of you guys like to hear this. For those of you that don't, I get it. Like I get it. This is a Pokemon chat, but life's funny, huh? Life's it's a fickle thing. You know, when I was doing all that, when I was building up everything, when I was getting ready for my career, I wasn't married at the time. I didn't have kids. You know, I have a house now. I got a wife. I got kids. Like, life changes. Life comes at you quick. Pokemon comes at you quick. This hobby comes at you quick. Uh, just keep trucking along, huh? And we'll see. We'll see if I go full time. I mean, I think about it every day. And it's getting to the point where I don't know. I ask myself, it's like, was it all worth it? All those crazy hours, all those times sleeping in a pickup truck with my work boots on and my coveralls and being covered in fracking fluid and working in the rain and working in the snow. And in North Dakota, it gets so cold. Remember, somebody told me, they were like, well, I said, what's the coldest you ever worked? They said, never, negative 40 degrees. I said, you go to work when it's negative 40 degrees out, and that's with wind chill. And then, like, they all laughed at me. And it was so cold that when you would have safety glasses on and you look into the wind, your eyeballs would freeze. So you'd have to turn away and you blink and you break up the little bit of ice that was in your eyes. And then a couple years pass, and then a new kid would walk in, and he would ask the same question. He goes, what's the coldest you ever worked? And I'd say negative 40. And he'd go, you guys really work in that? And I would laugh. And it's like, man, worked some crazy shit. Did some crazy stuff. It built me as the person I am. I think everybody's built different too. Just unabashing, unstopping, like, determination some people have. I don't know if I have quite that, but I have. Work ethic is something I've always had. Uh, just something, maybe you're born with it, maybe it's Maybelline type thing. I don't know. I don't know if it's a inherited thing. Like, my mom always worked. My mom was never home. She worked all the time, owned her own business. Couldn't really, like, truly afford to have other employees. So she worked a lot. She owned a laundromat. Uh, Originally it was a dry cleaners my grandparents owned, and then they sold that. A grocery store came in and they bought up the building. So they ran that laundromat. It was a laundromat slash dry cleaners. So they ran that for 46 years. And that was my mom's job when my mom was like, whatever, 16. She started working there. She worked there for like 46 years, like the whole time it was open, like crazy. And yeah, they didn't own the building though. They just rented it. So they leased that building for 46 years. And then eventually the people that owned the building sold it to a grocery store. So my grandparents retired, and my mother she didn't want to take over the dry cleaning part. So she just built the laundromat, like close by, maybe like a quarter mile away from the old site. So she had all that clientele. But still a laundromat. She would do like some wash, dry, and fold and stuff. And that was our family business growing up, was laundromat. So I would work there all the time. Never got paid for working with my mom. Never. My mom would would buy me a sub. There was a pizza joint right next door. She would buy me a sub. Like, that would be how she would pay me. So she could just get a break, you know? And so that was like before, like, high school. So from like whatever, freshman year to senior year, worked there. And then I worked over the summer, like painting and sanding bottoms of boats, working gas docks. That was like my true summer job before I turned 18. And yeah. But my mom always had that work ethic. My mom worked all the time. And my mom never went to college. My dad never went to college. Neither one of my parents went to college. And but my mom worked. My dad was a roofer. Dad worked the hardest fucking job. We were very blue collar. Dad worked a hard ass job roofing. I worked with my dad for one summer one time. And all I learned by working with my dad was that I knew what I did not want to be when I grew up. And the one thing I knew I did not want to be was a roofer. One of the guys, they went to Walmart and they bought like one of the cheap, whatever, like $2 thermostats, and they put it on the roof just to see how hot it got. And you know how hot it got up on the roof? I don't know. You know why? Because it popped. Yes. The thermostat literally popped. It got so hot that the thermostat popped on the roof. So I don't know how hot it got. I'll never know. It was that hot. I just learned what I didn't want to do. And man, my dad did that shit. He started roofing when he was 18 years old. Ugh. I mean, it destroyed him. Destroyed his body. His breathing's all fucked. Doing like ripping. That's a whole tangent though. But man, I did that first summer, and I just all it taught me was I knew what I didn't want to do. That's all that job taught me. But it was tough. Walking up and down ladders. It was flat roofs. You know, it wasn't like shingle roofs. It was flat roofs, so big commercial roofs. They did like the Duralast and rubber roofs. And man, black rubber roofs in the middle of July when it's 90 degrees outside, that black rubber might as well be molten lava. It's like that hot. But all right. But yeah, that was so I always grew up blue collar, and I don't know. Pokemon has given me this outlet. Just success, and uh Pokemon has really helped all my dreams come true. That might sound really, really like surface level bullshit, but it's true. Like, that's why I make these videos. That's why I talk into the nothingness. That's why I rant for hours at a time. But just so blessed to have this hobby as part of my life, and like I want it. I want it to thrive. I want it to be here not just in a year and 5 years and 10 years from now. I truly, honestly believe that this hobby will outlive me. So it's like, okay. And shout out to Gary King Pokemon. Gary King Pokemon, ever since I've known him, Gary has always said one thing. And I've heard people like kind of repeat similar sentiments, but Gary King Pokemon has always been on the record as saying, if Pokemon tomorrow stop printing a card, we have 20 years left. Gary has said that. Gary's been on the record. He's said that for the last, I don't even remember. Remember, Gary's said that now for like 15 years. Gary is the one that really was the first person to ever say that. Gary said if Pokemon stopped printing cards tomorrow, the hobby would still be around in 20 years. And the reason why is because you just got this group of people that are growing up with the cards, and they're still going to want it for 20 years. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the kids today, and I'm like, these kids are going to want this. The adults that are in it now want it. There's a college generation that right now, the same way as when we were in college and we weren't touching Pokemon cards because we were too busy playing beer pong and kings and, you know, trying not to flunk out of calculus and, you know, and trying to chase girls, and maybe some of you guys were dumb enough to get wiped up with that college girlfriend, and then that college girlfriend really was a waste of time for you. Talk about waste of time. That is a waste of time. And then you guys, you know, you weren't doing Pokemon, that's for sure. You were busy playing your beer pong and studying for Calc 3 and, you know, trying to chase girls. Some of you guys were probably successful. Most of you guys are probably failing at it. I don't know. Maybe I fell in the middle. But we got at least 20 years left. Now, do we got 20 boom years left? Do we have Fusion Strike booster boxes double in price every month left? I don't know if Fusion Strike's booster boxes can double every month into perpetuity. I'm going to lean towards no. I'm going to lean a strong no. That's not possible. But can Fusion Strike booster boxes go to 1,000? Is Rudy right? All Sword and Shield booster boxes undervalued under 500. Every booster box is going to be 1,000. Like, if that's the case, cha-ching. This live really went off the rails tonight. I did tell my wife I would watch the new, I don't know if you watch that Mr. Beast game show. We've been watching it on Amazon Prime. The new episode came out on Thursday. I told her I'd watch it with her. I told her I would only go live until... How did I go live? I started this at, what, 9:35? I said I was only going to go to 10:35. All right, I'm going to stay on for the next 8 minutes. I'm going to sign off at 11 p.m. my time. Still got work tomorrow morning. I'll be up 5:45. Day. Sometimes you got to wake up, suck the day's dick. That is a good motto for you. All right. Jumping up to the top of the chat, we got number 1 mod in the game, Drew. Drew, good to see ya. Eric K said, beautiful thumbnail. To become the shark, one must be consumed by the shark, or something like that. Eric, that is very, very deep. We got the Green Shiz, Joshua, Katie Lowen. Good to see you, Shook Nasty. Cameron, Fluke De Sosa. A lot of people saying Happy New Year's. Happy New Year's to everybody out there. We got Pokey Snipes. Pokey Snipes, what happened to you, man? I'm glad to see you finally came back out. We got Mick Nick. Let's see. Chill Phil said, when I saw all the hits that were taken from the print factory, I knew these sets would appreciate. It was just a matter of time. Yeah, so I didn't even mention that. I went off on a tangent. Yeah, the Fusion Strike, there's a lot of lore behind it, because Fusion Strike, you had the hits that released out of the factory that somebody tried to bring it to a game store in Texas. Thank God the game store was like, okay, shouldn't be all these hits. I mean, we'll talk about this. Maybe the next live we'll talk about the history of Fusion Strike. We'll do a little history lesson. And I always said, if the people were smart that leaked those Fusion Strike hits, like if they slowly trickled those onto the market, they could have controlled that market for years if they weren't greedy. But they were greedy. They wanted to sell them all at once. And then out of Canadian distribution for Fusion Strike, there was all those Fusion Strike God boxes that were pushed out. That's a whole nother story too. Like, people forget that there are Fusion Strike God boxes that exist, like through some Canadian distribution. So Magnification TCG said, I remember buying Chillin' Rain and Fusion Strike cases for $4.85. Good times, yeah. Pokey Slam said, PK, is Hills usually really slow and non-responsive to call/email? I haven't heard from them in a week plus after placing a large order. Pokey Sam, my best advice to you for Hills is one day that package will just arrive. It will just arrive. You just got to have faith. Hills is a boomer website. Hills, you'll be fine. If you did a large order on Hills, you're going to be fine. If it was pre-orders, they're probably just ignoring your emails, to be honest with you, because it's pointless. You're just, one day, you're going to come home and there's going to be a package from Hills. That's it. Let's see. Magnification TCG said, I picked up too many Shining Fates ETBs at MSRP a few years back. When will I be rewarded? I just got a bunch of Fusion Strike ETBs. Fusion Strike, I didn't say Fusion Strike, Shining Fates. Shining Fates about to make a run. Lock in. What do we got? This is the thing. I think Shining Fates already made a run. I think packs are up. I think they're like $7 a pack. Shining Fates. I think you're going to hate to hear this, but I think, look, Shining Fates is already kind of starting to run. Let me share this screen. Look at this. Look at that. $7.49. Shining Fates is already on a run, man. So you're good. You got it at MSRP. I know. You bought that box for $49.99. That's what MSRP is. You could break that down and you can sell those packs for $75. So it's already ran, man. You're up 50% by cannibalizing this product down. This is one of those weird things where Shine and Fate's ETBs, there's plays to break this shit down. Same exact, I don't know, I'm about to spill a play. Same thing like Hidden Fates, Shine and Fates. Shine and Fates, ETBs, you could cannibalize down Shine and Fates ETBs and sell the packs. Hidden Fates, you could cannibalize down Hidden Fates ETBs and sell the packs. Shine and Fates, you could cannibalize down these products and sell the packs for profit. Like, this is not new. This is something a lot of people knew. It's these specialty sets, like all those Hidden Fates, Shine and Fates, Legend, or Shine and Fates, Hidden Fates, and Shining Legends. Shining Legends. Did I say? I don't even know. I have too many Legends. Shining Legends. Shining Fates. Hidden Fates. Too many Shinies. Too many Hiddens. What is there? Paldean Fates. There's all these different Fates. The play for these has been to break down packs. There was always profit to be made in these. There just wasn't a lot. But yeah, man, it's already running. So you're good. You're good. We're booming. We're booming. We are booming. Let's see. Garen M said, I sent my wife the link that day. She said already on it. LL. Nice. Garen M talking about when the Fusion Strike booster boxes were released. Garen, very smart man. Let's see. Shug Nasty said, you tell the newcomers, I'll sell you booster boxes of Fusion Strike for $500. Listen, if anybody wants a nice minty Fusion Strike booster box for $500, slide into my DMs. I got you. We can definitely do that if anybody wants to give me $500 for what did I say? Fusion Strike booster box. Dot said, did I schedule PTO on January 17th just to make sure I get more Pokemon Center ETBs? Yes. Yes, I did. Dot, you know what? That might be a good usage of your time, man. I honestly mean it. It's probably a good. Namp 90. I know people don't want to hear it. PK before every sentence. Let's see. Christopher said, hit the Gengar out of Fusion Strike yesterday for his first rip of 2025. Dude, hitting the Gengar VMAX, that is nice. Evan said, surprisingly now everyone wants Fusion. Yeah. Magnificent TCG said, I sold my three my three Moonbreons, all pulled it the same night for $400 per a few years back. The chat is funny. Cass says, what will happen to Vivid Voltage booster boxes in the next couple months? Are they 200 yet? If they're not 200, they'll hit the 200 mark. Mysterio said, PK's really growing on me. I love this guy, Mysterio. I don't know if that's a troll or not, but I appreciate you, buddy. Shug Nasty said, do you think there's a chance in the future you'll regret it if you don't take the chance? Yeah, I think regret could always, yeah, I think it's possible. I mean, I kind of wish I didn't do it, but I don't think I was in the position to do it, like, before. I think I'm in the position to do it now. Mysterio says, if you have a nice cushion of money to sit on, take a risk, do what you love. Yep. We got Pokey Kid in the chat. Pokey Kid, appreciate you. Cass says, if full-time Pokemon doesn't work out, just find another job. Sounds like you have a nice resume, so it shouldn't be a problem. No, I don't think it'll be a problem. It's just, I don't know if I want to, like, go back. I just don't, I've only had a few jobs. Like, I had, the one job out of college doing the oil spill. And then I always kind of knew that was a temporary thing. Like, my boss would have killed me if I stayed doing that. I told you I was making, $18 an hour on time and a half. So it was like $13 an hour. But it was a nice college job. You got to keep in mind, perspective, $13 an hour. My friends were like pushing carriages at grocery stores for summer part-time jobs, making like $7 an hour. So I was making like double what they were making. So everything is perspective. It was good money at the time. I felt like I was freaking rich. Living at home with mom, driving an old beater car. Oh, yeah. Times were good. Pokemon Classic says antiviral. Dan is about to hit you with a trademark violation. It's okay. I'm part of the collectibles, or I'm part of the Catch 'em All Collectibles Incorporated group. I don't think you could hit me. I'm part of that group now. Pokemon Classics. All right, real quick. Biggest pet peeve in the hobby: the amount of people that call me Catch 'em All on the streams. Who don't, they don't know me as PK, but they all refer to me as because Catch 'em All. Oh my god, that's my biggest pet peeve. It's like I see it every time. I'm just like, stop calling me Catch 'em All. Like that is not me. Uh, uh. T. Pavlik said, "Don't quit your job. You have kids." Uh, Cheval says, "Will the U.S. have any engineers if the Pokemon boom continues?" uh, McNick said, "I just registered for another semester of classes today. Did I choose the wrong time to finish school? Hey, always classes are important. Knowledge is power, man. Trust me. Whatever you learn in college, you probably will use none of it in college or in your workforce. But it's a good stepping stone. Get you through that door. Uh, yeah, I've been able to use some stuff that I like learned. I'm like really good at remembering like certain laws. Uh, I do it once in a while at work. Like people ask me questions. Uh, like the two that comes to mind. That like I used like in the last week. That's why it reminds me. And I'm like, there was a Stokes law of particle settling, like how um like sand and rocks and cobbles how they like settle in a river. That's Stokes law. And then if you know like Faraday's like a Faraday cage is like copper cages that prevent signals from coming in. And somebody was asking a question. I was like, oh, that's Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, more or less saying that signal flows through a current. Current is directional, and then as it's flowing, it creates like a cylinder around it, a cylinder of magnetic induction. And I was just like, was able to like pull that out of my ass talking to somebody. And I think some people were looking at me like, they don't call me PK, but like, let's just say for the sake of this conversation, they're like, all right, PK, like sometimes my brain just misfires where I can remember like very, very small stuff. And like obviously that's like physics 101, learning about like Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction or uh fluid fluid geomorphology, learning about like Stokes law of particle settle and stuff like that. Oh, good old geofluvial. All right. But this is the thing, I'm gonna learn all. I got a lot of like information in my brain now from like the jobs I've been doing the last couple of years. I really like think to myself, I'm like, none of this is gonna matter. Like, oh, be careful. Like, learning a lot about stuff. Been doing a lot of like fluid dynamic stuff recently because we deal a lot with like how groundwater travels underground and how like soil vapor travels through stuff. So I've been like kind of like dabbling in that a lot, like fluid dynamics on my part time. And I'm like, should I be dabbling in fluid dynamics? Is this the best? That's the crazy thing. It's like, is this the best use of my time? Or is the best use of my time shiny, shiny cardboard? This is the best usage of my time. Little Mew from Evolutions. uh Pokemon Classic says, look how much this hobby has changed in 5 years. Nobody would have expected anything like this in January 2020 now. I got to the point where Tap gifted the 10 PK memberships. Tap, I appreciate you. Tap, I appreciate everything you're doing for the Rattle Discord. Helping out. Pulling out all the lurkers, too. Let's see. Fat Belly collects his PK. Can't quit your job. Rocks need polishing. Pokemon Classic say, PK, let's open a Pokemon themed roller disco. You in? Could it go wrong? We stream out the back. uh, Julio Torres says, PK, so I had my non-Pokemon career decades ago. I can see few similarities to non-Pokemon career and Pokemon stream, and so I wonder if a streamer career would have a diminishing returns too. Get it? Yeah, so it wouldn't just be streaming. Streaming would be a huge aspect of it, of course, but it would be just doing more singles, doing more graded plays, doing more content. Uh, it would be a lot. of stuff. Like I would go to more shows, I would do more in person. Maybe I would not do more in person, Brendan. I don't know. But it would I got boxes. I got boxes. 5-row boxes stacked. You don't even know how many the amount. Oh, I think I said this to somebody. I think it was to Dan today. I said, Dan, one of the things I'm more impressed about anything when it comes to an engineering aspect is 5-row boxes. The amount of weight a 5-row box. So right here off to the side of my screen, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There are 13 5-row boxes stacked. See, this is kind of where I want to kind of, I don't want to like show off screen. All right, I will take a photo of it so you guys believe me. Oh man, I gotta do this in a way that I'm not like doxing myself. Hold on. Let me crop this photo a little bit. So make sure I am not. All right. So that is off. Let me look at the. So you guys think I'm not capping? That is off to. That is directly next to my desk right there. That is 13 5-row boxes full of cards stacked up. I am amazed at how much 5-row boxes weigh. Kinda crazy. But yeah, like, but anyways, that was my little tangent on the engineering of 5-row boxes. I'm so impressed at how much weight 5-row boxes. But I got 7 boxes there. You can see these boxes right here. These are all full of cards. I'm not doing any bulk. I'm not doing any code cards. I'm not doing anything like that. So I'm like, I could start doing a little bit of bulk grinding, or at least start selling my bulk, or at least start pulling out the playable singles, like especially for this modern stuff. I got a lot of money sitting right here just in bulk. Oh, I dread that. So I do have other options. Pokesnipes, PK, you already set up to be a grandfather with all the stories you tell. Sorry, I know I go off on a tangent. All right, should I just? I'm gonna hop to the bottom of the chat. Told my wife I'd watch that new Mr. Beast. No, Mason Berry. That is just to the one side, and then we got this box right here. So let's No, I'm not gonna keep taking photos. All right. Either way, guys, as always. Oh, wait a second. What is this? Ooh, Pokemon TCG drops on Twitter. He just dropped a pretty cool post right here. I think we need to look at this. So Gem Rate just dropped this. Let's see. How do I want to share this real quick. So I'll just read it out to you. So Gem Rate just dropped their data. 20 million cards were graded across the 4 major graders in 2024. Total cards graded. You know what? So I'm gonna send this to myself. So this way I could share it. Because I think this one has a lot of good information. There. I'm gonna share this. This is interesting. Gem Rate just released their data. Come on. Come on, there we go. You can do it. Oh, I'm on the wrong account. That's why. There we go. Oh, let's click on this. There we go. Oh, yeah. We are going to share this right now. There we go. So, shout out to Pokemon TCG Drops for sharing this. This is gem rate. So gem rate, this is 2024 year in review. 20 million cards were graded across the 4 major graders in 2024. Total cards graded is up 16% compared to 2023, 17 million. So we saw 3 million more cards were graded in 2024 than 2023. 11.4 million sports cards. 8.6 million TCG and non-sports. So obviously most of that is going to be Pokemon. Grading breakdown. PSA graded 15.34 million. Look at the difference. PSA compared to CGC, SGC, and Beckett. Beckett only graded 657,000 cards. That is crazy. PSA is just so far past everybody else. It is interesting that CGC was still up 7% year over year, but I'm sure this 27% had a huge the Omega Mystery Packs had a huge increase in this, but SGC up 46%. That's actually pretty impressive. Share breakdown: PSA 76%, CGC 11%, SGC 9%, Beckett 3%. Top categories overall. Look at this. TCG beat out baseball, basketball, and football, and almost beat them out combined. So, well, maybe not, but still a lot. You got, what is that? 9.7 million. So 9.7 million versus 1.8 million in just TCGs. That's pretty crazy. So, yeah, shout out to Gem Rate on this information. Shout out the Pokemon TCG drops for sharing this. Pretty crazy numbers right there. We are booming. We are booming. There ain't no stopping. We didn't start the fire, but the fire keeps on burning. We are out here. All right, guys. Listen, I love you guys. You guys are the best. You guys make me want to keep this going. All right. Happy New Year's, guys. I'm not going to keep mentioning how many lives I've done in a row, but probably wait till December next year. I'll start talking about if I could go 2 years in a row. But yeah. All right, guys. Appreciate you. Godspeed. Be safe. Don't do anything I want to do. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of stuff I want to do, so might be screwed. All right, guys. Love you. Be safe. Peace.